And the last speaker of tonight, he is a young entrepreneur full of energy and passion about the things that he want to achieve. He has a dream as well, and he found that somewhere along the way, maybe in Nicaragua, where he did an internship years ago. And Tim and I met each other 2 years ago when the both of us were fortunate enough to be asked to hold a TED Talk, and he actually has a very enthusiastic TED Talk of 8 minutes in the preparation of tonight. I watched it again and it always brings a smile on my face. And I shouldn't mow too much grass away for him. I think it's good to give him a well-deserved warm applause. Timmy Vos of the E-Waste Race.
Yes? All right. Yeah, thank you very much for this nice welcome. So I'm Timmy de Vos, the guy you see on the screen. And before Rudy already introduced me as the guy of the E-Waste Race, which is one of the projects that I'm running. And that's what I'm doing on this picture. I give a lot of classes. Yeah, you could say I'm teaching these kids something, but I rather say that I'm trying to inspire these kids and actually want to motivate them and let them experience some cool stuff to make the world a better place. Well, that's me. I see some of you guys left already, but still I would like to get to know who you guys are. So there is the idea that this room is full of quite a green crowd, and I want to check that out, whether that's true. Who of you considers themselves quite sustainable? Who thinks they are doing quite a good job to do something nice for the world? Oh, that's medium-ish, I would say. Yeah, half of you. Okay. Because I think all these small things, Darian already mentioned a few, I think he was quite, how do you say, bescheiden, modest in the way he talked about the things he already did. So if you're wearing a mud jeans, you should be proud of that already. All these small things contribute. So who separates waste? More than 2 streams of waste? More than 3? Oh, nice. More than 4? I see one in the back. Yeah, the man with the beard. What do you separate?
Wood, steel, plastic, marine, and GFT.
Okay.
But black in the black bin. The black bin, the green bin. Because also glass. Yeah, glass.
Especially wood and metal is quite.
Wood goes in the burner,
I wouldn't really call that recycling then, but okay. Who has a job related to sustainability? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice corner over here. Nice, okay. Who has ever tried to live a day without plastic? Quite a few of you as well. That's the image Darian. I think there is a lot of overlap between my story and Darian's, by the way, and you will see that in the coming 20 minutes. But that's actually quite impressive, I think. A day without plastic is quite hard. Who is a vegetarian? Also a few. Who is very consciously eating less meat? Oh, that's already, that's a lot of people, nice. So does that mean only one day not eating meat, or more? More than 1 day, hands? More than 2 days? 3 days on average? Okay, so half a week of no meat eating, nice. Who buys fair and ecological or biological clothing? 1, 2, oh, it's a smaller crowd. I find this really hard myself as well. It's super hard to buy. I'm very, I was very well, how do you say it? I was very enthusiastic about what Ellen told. One more company that's bringing these things out there, which is awesome. Who buys biological food? Also quite a lot. Who goes to work or school by bike or public transport? And who does that because they think of the environment? Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Who has their own solar panels? Oh, nice. And how many of you get electricity from a green supplier or green energy?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know?
They say it.
Yeah. There are a lot of ways to look at this. The one company is greener than another, and some companies they claim to have very green electricity, while they also do in other energy, and then yeah, you wouldn't really want to give your money to those parties. But let's not get into that too deeply. And anybody else that does something for a better world, whatever, please, everybody raise your hand now. Oh, that's very medium. Okay. Everybody that has raised his hand, very cool. Awesome, if you ask me. And that's where Dawion and me might differ a little bit. I think all these little things that we are doing, we should be very proud of it. All these small things. And well, I'm maybe telling one of those stories that you might have told years ago. Still trying to be the enthusiastic one that tries to get everybody also, well, it's not the 90% over here because a lot of you are quite green, but also try to trigger these other people to make little changes. Because we all love our world, right? It's a very nice place. And if we don't like the world, we might at least like some of the people that are on it. Right? So we all want to be nice to each other and yeah, get along. But there are also a lot of troubles in our world, and I still speak to a lot of people that say, when I'm being the sustainable guy that I am and bragging about the sustainable stuff I do, then there are still a lot of people coming back at me saying, I don't care too much about the environment. Well, so sometimes I think that's kind of strange. Well, put these people in a desert or in a war-torn place like Syria, for example, then I think they would really care about what their environment is. So I don't really think they always know what they're saying. But still, we have to cope with this fact, the fact of the 90% of people that aren't really conscious about this. And I think we should really make that 90% a whole of a lot less, because if we, for many systems, whether it's banking, whether it's energy, whether it's the transport system, a lot of the status quo things will eventually help us get this world into a third. And I think we can all contribute at least to making, because hey, it's not as black and white as I tell it right now. It's not that if we don't all try to change the world, that all of a sudden there will be a doomsday. Neither is there a thing we can do that all of a sudden everybody is going to live happily ever after. It's at least we can all contribute to making this third as small as possible. Because there is already things like climate change, we already have refugees, and all these things are intertwined, and it's a complex world, it all correlates with each other. And that's why I really, really, really believe in this. Small changes can eventually make bigger change, and that's why we should talk about these smaller things. I studied innovation sciences. And for these smaller things, because a lot of people do smaller things, but for these smaller things to actually make a big contribution, we have to tell about them. Alan should share knowledge with other people. Sorry, you're just leaving. With other people that are working in sustainable fashion. If they share knowledge with each other, then that movement can grow, and we as consumers should buy that stuff so it can grow, so it becomes economically feasible. And I really believe in it, but then we should, every little small thing that we do, we should shout it off the rooftops. Yeah. So even if it's as small as wearing a mud jeans, be proud of it. I'm wearing a mud jeans. All right. So I'm lucky enough to be on stage right now, so I'm going to show a few things I'm proud of, and they're super small. But I have sustainable shoes, and the thing I think where you can reach the 90% with is not necessarily the sustainable story, because not everybody is attracted to the sustainable story. If I say these shoes are made from recycled plastic and the rubber comes from the Amazon, but there is reforestation going on because of this rubber, so it's a super sustainable shoe, then I might get to some of you guys. You might think, oh, that's quite cool, but indeed there is 90% that wouldn't care. But this still is a quite cool shoe, right? At least I think it's cool. Do you think it's a cool shoe? Yeah? Okay. Nah, they have other models as well. Okay, I came here by bike, and it's a bamboo bike, which obviously is better for, well, it also, bamboo grows like crazy. It grows really fast, and of course metal doesn't really grow really fast, rather it gets depleted. So this is also sustainable. Besides that, it's made in Kenya by women that are having their own company. It's super awesome. And then the last thing, and this is where I want to get into a little bit deeper. Boss couldn't make it. I'll try to tell a little bit of the story about electronics. I have one of these phones, but as Dawian also already demonstrated, you had all the R's, rethink, reduce, reuse, recycle. Obviously, if you have a phone that still works and does the thing you need to do with it, keep it as long as possible. Please do, because a lot of people, especially young people, I'm a lot in classes in front of young people, and they always want the new stuff. They're talking about the iPhone 7 and all the new stuff. And I read a pretty cool article this week, and it actually said, if you're one of those that buys a phone every 2 years, not because he really needs it, but because he wants to have the latest thing, then they got you well. They got you well. Because the newest models usually don't bring that much extra functionality, they don't bring that much extra status, if you're already caring about it. And yeah, they still got you 700 euros paying for the newest phone. Quite a lot. I rather have this one, which I can repair for I hope a long time. But for me this is also actually, this is for me a bit of a status thing. I want to show the kids, in front of the crowd, I want to show, hey, I have one of those phones that is actually contributing to fairer minerals, to better wages, working conditions, and that is repairable. Well, why do I do this? Wait, yes, you didn't see it. How many different minerals do you think there are in a usual phone? 30? Who thinks more than 40? 30, hands.
You've seen it.
Yeah, you've seen it, but you couldn't count that fast, could you? Okay, it's more or less 46. And we are using so much more minerals these days than we did only 10 years ago with the information age and everybody wanting phones and tablets and what else. But also a way wider variety of minerals that we didn't use before. Things that we, like palladium, tantalum, the thing is cobalt to make batteries. That stuff wasn't used that much before. And actually we are depleting this stuff at a crazy rate. This is an image, there are a lot of different images going around on this topic, but this is at least very clear, and it also shows the urgency very well, because there are a lot of minerals with the assumed growth that we were having before the crisis. Then a lot of minerals, like for example a very well-known mineral, gold, will already be gone within 40 years. The same goes for copper, for load in English? Lead. Well, so this goes a lot faster than probably most of you would have assumed, right? Did anybody know that these reserves were like, I see somebody knowing it in the back, but you're probably one of the few that, did any, hands, did anybody know this? Yeah, obviously. Alright, fair enough. Well, and a lot of these minerals come from places like this. That's why I love the Fairphone. They are trying to get minerals from different places. Still from Congo, this is Congo, but from mines where there are better working conditions, where there's no conflict. And why does electronic devices, why do they have my attention? Well, e-waste, electronic waste, the waste from our electronic devices, is the fastest growing waste stream that we have at the moment, due to the information age and all the stuff we want. And at the same time, it's the stream that's being recycled worst. People are too lazy to go to the Milieustraat, to the, what's it called, the recycling depot. A lot of stuff ends up in your drawers. Question: who has an old mobile phone laying in their drawer that they don't use anymore? That proves it, right? So this stuff is being recycled very badly. And for a lot of people it still ends up in the residual waste bin. Well, you know what happens to the waste in the residual waste bin, I assume. Goes to the incineration plant, and then most of your minerals are gone. Some can get back through, they have techniques to get stuff from the ashes, but most of it's gone. And there is still a lot of stuff, not necessarily from Europe, but mainly from America, for example, still ends up in places like this, and this is also something I hope we don't like to see. Well, so what do I do then? I try to make recycling fun, because the major issue is in collecting this stuff. More than half of it doesn't make it to the recycling place, and in Europe we have quite a good system already on recycling. For a phone, for example, 95% of the material can actually be recovered. So if it ends up there, obviously if you have a completely repairable or montable phone, then it's better. But for now we don't have that yet. Fairphone is making a nice steps towards that. But at least we can all bring our stuff to the recycling depot. Less than half ends up there. Okay, so I try to contribute to that with my e-waste race. The e-waste race is a competition between schools to collect electronic waste in their neighborhood. And this is quite great, because these kids, they are awesome ambassadors. I give them a class about practically the same stuff as I told you today, only on a different level. And then these kids, for 4 weeks, they go into the neighborhoods trying to collect as much electronic waste as possible. And the one that does best, the school that does best, wins a school trip to, for example, Ontdekfabriek here in Eindhoven, or to Science Center Nemo in Amsterdam. Well, and if that's the reward, they will do their best. On average, we do this in all major cities: Groningen, Utrecht, Rotterdam, Amsterdam, Eindhoven. On average, we collect over 13 tons of electronic waste in 4 weeks with 10 schools. For those who don't have an image, that's quite a lot. Alright. So, well, also makes the kids very happy, and I'm very sure that we contribute to the awareness over here. And if you do it on this age, it will stick. If you're a bit inspirational, I remember it from when I was in primary school. Your regular teacher you see every day, but if somebody else from outside comes for one day, that can actually stick. And then we got a second thing, because the e-waste race is a campaign-y thing. It's 4 weeks, and then we come back the next year. And then 4 weeks again, and we come back next year. But we were thinking, together with Joris Pettersen, who's sitting over there, who is our circular designer, we wanted to come up with something that, that could have a longer lasting impact, that could be in those schools for like the whole year. And then we came up with the e-waste arcades. Same goal, we want to make recycling fun so people actually do it. And we do, this is our first arcade. And this one is particularly aimed at mobile phones. There is one over here, so after the talk you can all have a look. The idea is that kids bring their phones here, they drop it in here, and then they can play a game. I'll show in a sec how that works. And we have the experience from the e-waste race that one school on average can already collect over 100 phones during an e-waste race, let alone what they will do for this machine. Okay, so the phone goes in here. We have built a system that recognizes whether it's a phone or not with sensors, weight and metals that can be recognized, and then you know whether it's a phone or not. And it ends up in our washing machine. This is a very cool detail because we have tried to make this arcade as circular as possible. We are having a leasing system. Is my English very bad? Or, okay. We build it out of completely recycled material. So the screen that's in there, it's completely recycled. The computer is also recycled. The washing machine, which is just a nice touch to the image, also recycled. The wood is all certified wood. There are still some buttons and the intake system that are new, but that's a small part of the whole thing. So we are really showcasing what you can do with waste. So we are really setting a circular example. Oh, it worked in the demo a second ago.
Shall we do it quickly here? What's that thing?
Yeah. Yeah, we have a little, yeah, you can check it in a second as well, but a little demo of how it works. You throw in your phone, it eats it up, it's processing whether it's a phone. Oh, yes, it's a phone, so you got 3 credits to play games. Your phone drops in the washing machine, so you can nicely see where it is, and then you can start playing. Well, this might not seem too attractive for this crowd, but kids like it. All right. Yeah, and there are 6 games in there, and they all have a recycling message. So this one, you're collecting phones, and you have to save them from the residual waste bin. Another one, you have to catch all kinds of electronics and bring them either to the recycler or to the repair shop, and then you get more points for repairing because that's even better than recycling. Oh. Well, and this is the way we try to make our contribution, make it cool to actually make other people do a contribution, make a contribution, and we make it fun and easy. You don't have to go to the recycling depot anymore. You can just go to school, which you have to do every day anyway, so it's more easy. And then I want to end my story with trying to trigger you guys to make little changes in your life. This is a machine, also super cool, which is in the central station of Rotterdam. And you can pick different challenges, and this is very much focused on waste. It's called the Scale Down Challenge. And it challenges you, for example, to make your own peanut butter, or to eat more vegetarian, or try insects because they're full of protein and they're really well substitute for meat. And actually, a lot of you guys raised their hands when they were doing something sustainable. And, well, another one is the NPO Green app. Does anybody know this? No? Nobody? Oh, nice. Well, I'll go look for it. The NPO Green app, it can challenge you. I also have it, but I have the same problem as Douwe-Jan with this. Then you see a challenge, but really going and doing it is still a hurdle. So actually you should do this together with other people. Just talk to the person next to you if you know her or him, and ask her or him which challenge you're going to do. Are we going to do a day without plastic? Are we going to eat meat less? Or are we going to change our bank to a sustainable bank? And actually that's what I want to end to it. I want you guys to talk to your neighbor and tell them what you are already doing and what you maybe could change as small as possible, so you really will do it. And then I want to end my story there.
Well, thanks, Timmy. You really didn't change a bit, and that's a good thing, I guess. Very optimistic. You've shown us some very cool projects that would also work very well, I guess, with employees in big firms, and they have even bigger phones, so they can play even longer. And I guess it's untrue that the little games are not suited for grown-ups, because you had me hooked in the coffee break, so we had to start, and sure, you got a bit wobbly about that. So, any questions for Timmy? How did he set up his adventure? How is he making a living out of this? What fuels his engine? I don't know. Any questions for Timmy? Here's one.
Yeah. Hi, this is a bit of a tricky question because you mentioned you can collect a lot of e-waste in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
What happens then? I can imagine that the place where you drop it off gets a kind of shock to get so much of e-waste at one time. And what happens with the e-waste? Because in my mind, you're only concentrating it. What's the next step with it?
Yeah, we always collaborate with either the local municipality, who already collaborates with the local waste collector. We always collaborate with the local institutions in place, which is very important because I don't have a very big range of trash cans which I can place at the schools, so the recycling company has to do that. But actually the only thing that I'm doing is making sure that the stuff that's still in your garages, in your attics, in your drawers, that it actually ends up in the recycling depot. And from there on there is already quite a good infrastructure in the Netherlands or in Europe.
With e-waste, because to my knowledge it's useful. It's a useless product for a recycler, because all those minerals are scattered all over, and it's not doable to get it out. So it's in waste. It's purely waste. Is that true or not? Can they do something with it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, what can they do with it?
Recycle it. Unfortunately, I don't have the presentation that I usually show the kids, but there's actually a movie of the partners that we work with. They have, Alan asked for the word, but I forgot it. People with a distance to the labor market. They do the first hand sorting. Then from there on, all the sorted
components.
Frequencies go to different recycling firms. For example, you have a cool rack which specializes in freezers and washing machines and witgoed. And you have another recycling factory that's very good in recycling mobile phones in Antwerp, for example. And this way it all ends up in specialized factories that actually can get as much materials out of there as possible. The other thing you say is also true. Darian already mentioned price fluctuation for minerals, for resources. And even though they are growing and it's very volatile, still actually they don't really reflect the true scarcity. Otherwise we would pay way more for the stuff we own. And that's actually not an incentive for the recycling industry, because 1,000 kilograms of electronic waste, if it's like bulk, if it's not separated, it's only worth 85 euros, which is not so much, because there goes a lot of energy in recycling it and getting those minerals out of it again. But at least we make sure it doesn't end up in the
drawers.
The residual waste bins, but it actually ends up at the recyclers.
Any more questions, remarks? Here's one.
It sounds like you've got a lot of good ideas, and it makes me wonder what's next.
We started quite recently with arcades, so first we want to make this happen. Yesterday, I don't think I can talk about it, can I? Okay. Yesterday we were at NS, and maybe we're going to place one or a few at stations, and that's our first thing, getting these things out there so people know what they can do at the arcades. And then next step, we'll see.
Okay, conquering the world. But this is maybe a question from you to him. But what could you offer this team of guys that are so hungry to get rid of the e-waste? Because I think there's something behind your question. What's the thing that you could provide them?
The reason for my question was mainly because I know it's a group of people who are all very interested in this, and I know people always have more ideas than they've actually implemented. So that's why I asked.
And there's not a longing to help them, to collaborate with them.
Well, I suppose everyone has their own sort of things they're working on, and that's a good thing as well. You cover lots of different areas.
Politically correct.
That is also supposed to be my ending, that everybody can contribute in their own little way, so with whatever.
By exchanging it, yeah. There was another question. That was really Mr. Environment, I guess. He wasn't with his hand up in the air for like 40 minutes in a row.
You touched on it briefly, but you said you were also encouraging people to use the telephone as long as possible. What do you think is the easier message to say, recycle or actually use as long as possible?
With this project I'm indeed quite focusing on the recycle part. Knowing that people won't recycle or throw away the stuff they still use. And I'm at least with the e-waste race, I'm first incentive is to make sure it doesn't end up in residual waste. But during my lecture for the kids, or I won't call it a lecture, during my talk for the kids, I definitely tell them that I try to keep my phone as long as possible, and I want to make that sound cool. Don't know whether that always comes across, but at least I try. And that's what I encourage you to do. That if you do anything sustainable, whether it's if you still have a Nokia in your pocket, for example, please tell everybody and tell it like it's super cool, because it is.
Clear message. Douwe-Jan, would you like to join us? Because then for the last part of this evening, we have still some more room for the discussion, maybe between the speakers as well. And maybe that's one very first question before the audience can burst loose. How do you view this young guy going around schools, being so energetic, praising everyone for the even the small bits that they are achieving? How do you view this?
Well, at least he made me think I have to go tomorrow through all my drawers to find all these phones, because probably I have 5 or 10 with all the kids in the house. So I will look them up. The other thing is the question, what's next? Well, what's next is that we don't buy these things anymore, but that they stay the ownership of Apple, LG, Samsung, whoever it is. They get them back, and then they will see that there's a different layer of value in these machines. The first layer of value is a second market. So your iPhone, when you buy it new, it's let's say 700 euros. When you bring it on the second hand or on the second market, maybe you can get 200 or 250 euros. In the third round, maybe 100. But when you come into the recycling, as you said, then it is about €1. So then companies will start thinking, how can I earn money with my machine longer than normally? And they will try to get all the resources that are in there that they need also for the production for the new machine, for the new thing. They will try to get it back. And Apple already started a factory in Tilburg.
Breda, I think.
Breda? Well, somewhere over there.
The Leon.
From Amsterdam, it's all below Eindhoven, but that's not true. But in Breda, they have already the first factory to recycle the Apple phones. So it is starting, but they need to have the step towards keeping the ownership and facilitate us with the use. And that's not a big change, because you already pay 40 euros or 30 euros a month for the cost of using it. well, let's make it 35 or 45, and then I don't have the ownership, and they keep the ownership. For me, that's fine, because otherwise it will end in my drawer. Oh, by the way, the drawer. It's beautiful to see that we have them in our drawers. They have a value that makes that we don't do them in the residual waste bin. So we keep them in the drawer, and then after 5 years we think, oh, it's still there. Yeah, oh, okay, we don't throw them away. That's almost not happening. So we feel somewhere that it has value. But the next step is a change in the business model.
Yeah.
Yes, good addition. There is someone, and the things that you mentioned resonate here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, have you ever talked to maybe Orange or T-Mobile? Because there's a subscription model for iPhones in place. Like you pay 50 or 40 euros a month and then you get your phone. Have you ever talked to them, and have you ever inspired them to maybe reuse the materials after
No,
the subscription?
I haven't directly spoken to those parties. We do talk to the company that actually takes away the how do you say, the responsibility of those producers and those telecom companies. So all these producers or people that sell contracts, they have the European obligation to make sure that stuff gets recycled and gets back in the loop, but they outsource it to another company, and we talk with that company.
And as a result, what does it lead to?
Well, they fund us, so we can do the thing we do. And I would like to reply on what Dawian said, because I took some things out. I totally agree with what Dawian says, that the system needs change, and there are actually already quite a few nice examples also for the electronics industry. For example, we have headphones now from, they're called Jared Street is the brand, they're from Delft indeed, and it's a leasing model, and as soon as something is broken you can just give it back, they'll fix it for you, and you can continue leasing. Also for washing machines, it already exists. Company bundles, also young entrepreneurs, you can lease washing. So that's a small thing that you could already look into. If your washing machine is almost broken, start looking into the leasing constructs. They are already out there.
That was, we had discussions with Vodafone, for instance, on these issues, and they try to make a step in that direction, but they just missed the point. So they made it a lease model, and lease model is extended ownership. You pay the lease price, and in the end, you are the owner. It's just a loan that you have with, let's say, Vodafone or whichever other company. And now they have a problem with the financial institutions that they did not make that clear to the clients. And that's why we don't talk about leasing, because leasing is extended ownership. We talk about performance-based contracting. It is a fee for the use. That's what you want to pay, a fee for the use, because you are interested in the use and how the thing works, and what they do with it, that's their problem. And they can handle that far much better than you can. But we are discussing it with the Vodafones to get steps further, and also with Apple, but well, stupidly enough, Apple doesn't listen to me yet. But I keep on trying with the power of one, you never know.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, with respecting your time schedule as well, we're gonna wrap it up, but these two speakers will be here as well, so please stick around for having a drink. Ellen left as she had to tuck in one of her baby children because they started to moan that she was way too often in Eindhoven this week. She will be here tomorrow though to provide a lecture, which is at 3:30 here at the library. It will be in English. There's another opportunity upcoming Sunday at 2 o'clock, and that will be in Dutch. This is all being filmed and live broadcast, and you can view it back on citytv.nl. And if you're very curious for more programs, you can also visit the website of this library with the programs. It's in Dutch, bibliotheek-eindhoven.nl. And there you'll find more programs to see what's coming up next on these team evenings. As said before, for now we're going to wrap it up. We have Douwe Jan on this side, we've got Timmy on that side. They're both very enthusiastic about the topic. Please, last round of applause for these two guys. Thank you.